Hello, we are starting. Quiet down, please. Please. All right. Welcome to week 2 of RIT. Oh, hey, we're getting started. Welcome to week 2. Clap it up for week 2, I guess. Let's go. All right. Let's get right into it, right in the announcements. All right. Here's your weekly reminder. Please sign in. It's really important. It's how we keep track of everyone who shows up. If you don't sign in at least 3 times, you will not be considered a member, technically, and you cannot vote on stuff, get pizza, have all those benefits that we give you with recruiting as well. So please make sure to sign in. If you can't scan the QR code, the domain is just signin.ritsec.club. I'll give you all a second. Looks like everyone's good. If you haven't already, please join the Discord. We post a lot of stuff there. This is where you can keep in touch with literally everything. You can message people, keep in track of all the interest groups, events, stuff like that. Very important. Discord.ritsec.club. We have a calendar. Here you can keep track of all the interest groups and when they meet, stuff like that. Any events, really important. Calendar.ritsec.club. If you have any issues, oh wait, no, that's Discord. RTSec mailing list. If you want our weekly newsletter or any other updates, we have a newsletter that's mail.rtsec.club. Make sure to read it every week. One just got sent out yesterday. You will know what the presentations and the topic is ahead of time. So yeah, look at that. All right, mentorship today. Today the mentorship groups will be meeting with their mentors during the demo time. So if you are a mentee or a mentor, just please pay attention. I think Tenchi will make sure that that is all organized, and we will meet. Do you want to say something?
All right, so hello everyone. Those that have been accepted to the mentorship program should have been added to their respective mentorship group channel on Discord. So please check that to see which group you're in. During demo time, I'll bring up a list of which group is what and just reconfirm with you guys. So just wait until demo time for that.
All right, thank you, Tenchi. And IRSec 2021, October 2nd. If you haven't signed up, Jason's coming over, but sign up today. They close today.
Yes, sign-ups close today. We are actually very full, so if you haven't signed up yet, you might miss out. But we have lots of opportunities for you to still participate because we have white team. So,
He's taking the jacket off and everything. It's getting serious.
yes. So white team. This is a white team shirt because it's white. Basically, white team they are participants in the competition, but they are not competitors. Basically, white team helps the black team run the competition. So I'm the black team lead as the competition architect. And there's a bunch of people helping me put the competition together who have been spinning up the VMs that we're going to use and just kind of making everything work on the backside. But white team will help us on the competition day of, helping with blue team check-ins, giving out shirts, handling food, being liaisons with the teams and kind of just helping out the competition the day of. So if you can't blue team or you want to be involved but you don't want to blue team, sign up to be white team. Go to irsec.club, go to register, find the white team link, sign up to be on white team. It's really cool. The competition can't happen without white team, and we really want you guys, if you guys really want to be involved, white team is a surefire way to go. And lastly, I need all of the people who signed up to blue team to go to this link and fill out that form. And, well, make sure, I think the form got pushed. If it didn't get pushed, wait, and then it will get pushed at some point today. But basically go out and fill out that form because I need your shirt sizes so we can order you guys shirts for next week. So please and thank you, fill out that form with your shirt size. And yeah, IRSec is about 3 weeks away. So let's get hype. Question. Oh, I guess the changes haven't got pushed yet. I don't know where Brad is, but he's not here. Very sad. All right, I'll come back during research, and then we'll have better changes. But yeah. Question. Let's connect on Discord. Find me on like the Indie board thing. Send me a message. Cool. Any other questions? I have a question. Who's ready for IRSEC? Let's go. Also, Blue Team Workshops, second one tomorrow at 12 in that room upstairs. Be there or be square. You'll be square because you're never around.
Ooh, all right. Thank you, Jason, for that nice IRSEC update. All right. CCDC tryouts start tonight. That'll be 5 to 7 p.m. in the Net and Air Gap Labs. We will have 3 stations, I know. Windows, networking, and Linux, you will rotate, so you'll get to try everything. Show up. It's good practice. Even if you don't necessarily want to be on the team, you can stay throughout the entire year. Anyone can show up to practice or tryouts. If you are interested, please come at 5 to 7 p.m. All right, let's clap it up for the sponsors. Yes, they help us do everything we are able to do. We are very grateful for them. Thank you. All right, you can follow our social media, I guess. Here they are. Yeah, whatever. All right, so here's our disclaimer. Be good. What? Movie night? We have a movie night this Sunday at 7 p.m. in this room. Is that a new update? Okay, we're watching Hackers, so, you know, kind of got to show up. That's like traditional. Right here, 7 p.m. this Sunday? Next Sunday? This Sunday. All right. I'm sure there'll be a Discord update for that. Anyways, disclaimer. Be good, not bad. Do not take any of the things that we teach you and do bad things. Be good. Cool? Awesome. Without further ado, this week is Intro to Linux featuring Enzo DeStephano. Clap it up for him.
Windows. I know I'm good, but thank you. And I don't have to wear a mask either. I got the COVID shield. Oh yeah. So this was very applicable because our stream restarted because we hadn't updated in like 4 months. So update your computer basically. Windows. Okay, that's probably good. Good. Does that work? Hello? Cool. Okay. Welcome to Windows, Intro to Windows presentations. This is going to be kind of a long presentation, so my apologies in advance. And there are even more things that I did not get to cover. But if you're interested in this stuff and I didn't cover something that you're interested in, please come find me after. All right. So, what is Windows? Does it take some time? Windows itself is sort of a grouping of different OSs. There's a couple different versions. So Windows NT is the kernel level, the lowest level underneath. What most people know is Windows Home / Workstation, Windows Pro, Windows Education that they give us for free here at RIT, and the server versions what are built on top of that kernel. So Windows Server, obviously, hosts servers, think Active Directory, I'll go into that. And there's also this thing called Windows IoT, which is like, you can put this on Raspberry Pis. I don't know why you would ever do that, but hey, more power to you. So like I said, Windows NT, basically most popular for home use. Bunch of details. It's the newest, actually it's Windows 11, but the officially released one is Windows 10 for home. Server is where Windows makes its money, basically. Windows Server, specifically Active Directory, basically you will see that in every single company that you work for, just because of how well it all intertwines with each other, and I'll go into explaining that. So you will see Windows Server, and you will see Active Directory. Also, IIS is, I don't remember what it stands for, but that's like Windows' web server, very popular. And then, you know, DNS and a bunch of other stuff, certificate authorities. You can build it practically all into Windows servers. So the Windows file system. The primary file system is NTFS, NT, and file system. Unlike Linux, file extensions actually matter, so you can't just have some random index.html is executing scripts like randomly. Like, can't really do that. Each hard drive gets its own letter. So C is the default drive. Actually, A and B are reserved for floppy disks, if you know that. There's a couple important locations. The first one being users, has all the home directories, just like Linux. Windows has a bunch of Windows files, that sort of thing is installed there. And this is where it gets a little funky with Windows. So System32 holds basically all of the crucial executables, but in System32, they're all 64-bit NDLLs. And then in the folder called syswow64, there's 32-bit executables. So you'll love to see it, basically. And it gets even worse, too, because in program files, it's 64-bit. And then in x86, there's 16 and 32-bit programs. So kind of a mess, kind of grimy, but that's how it is. So running processes. So basically, this is everything that is running on Windows at all times. There's a lot, as you can see by this screenshot right here. You're going to see a lot of SVC hosts, which are services, and I'll go into that later. But basically, all the programs running sort of follow that format of .exe, which is basically some compiled code. Some are part of the operating system, like SVC host and DLL host and a bunch of other things, runtime broker. And then other things are manually started by the users. You can view running processes through Task Manager, which is classic right here. It organizes this thing. You can see what users are running processes, details on the processes, services that are running as well. You can do it through Task List, which is that right there, or through PowerShell's get process commandlet. So services are processes that run in the background, similar to a Linux daemon, as you guys learned last week. It's controlled by something called the SCM, or Service Control Manager. And these can run as system, which is basically the highest level, technically, that you can use on a Windows system. There's also a network service and a local service account. And you can also run services as a user account, but you don't really see that. That's kind of sus if you did see that, so watch out. And these can run even when no one is logged in. So a lot of these services start up, they're basic Windows services. So when you turn on the machine for the first time, a bunch of these services will start, like the Windows event log, stuff like that. And they can all of the services have permissions, and they can be configured in certain ways to run automatically, manually, or even being triggered by some event. So say a certain item pops up in the event log, that will trigger starting a service, something like that. So there are a couple ways to install, stop, start, remove services. There's PowerShell. It's called get service, stop service, start service, anything. It's the service commandlet. And then in CMD, it's SC. And then you can also do it through this thing called services. Oh, yeah, I put it there. Service.msc. So the registry is when things get a little funky. This is a massive database of all of your Windows configurations and settings. And you can do a lot of funky stuff with the registry because there's so many keys and things blend in so well. So programs, most Windows programs use the registry. Obviously, things aren't required to use the registry, but they can opt in to use it. Basically, it will store configurations and user data if you want it to. And that way you don't have to store it inside of one exe. So basically, it works out by key value pair. So you'll have your key, which is like the folder sort of thing right there. Those are called the root keys. And then that thing in red right over there, that's called a value. So pairs up with each other. And each value can be a string. It's called a reg SZ, or an integer, dword, arrays, binary data. Basically, anything that you want to store in the registry, you can store in the registry. Some of the important root keys are all listed up right there. HKLM has all the Windows-related settings default to your local computer. HKCC, hardware profile stuff. HKCR, tongue twister, has all your, like, if you install an application and they decide to use a registry, it will be in that right there. HCCU, this is all your user settings, so your wallpaper, anything for control panels, stuff like that. And then HKey users has group policy, which I'll go to later. And there are 3 million keys by default on Windows. So going to more Windows configuration stuff, there's Control Panel. Rest in peace. They're getting rid of it, which is sad because I love Control Panel. And then they have this other thing called MMC, which I did not know about until last year, but it's super helpful. They have these things called snap-ins, which basically allow you to do local and remote configuration of machines. And basically, they offer a bunch of different items that you would like to look into. So, I don't know, say you want to look into computer management, component services, that sort of thing. You can do that remotely if you want to. It's good for configuring. Windows users and groups. Okay, so it's a little different from Unix. Basically, users have this thing called an SID, which is this thing right here. And basically, all these numbers mean something. This is all groups and users that the user is a part of. So you have this thing right down here, which is called the RID, and this basically tells you what permissions you have. And then these are all related to your groupings. So if you're in a certain group, what permissions you have in each group is like that. It's kind of weird, but you can look into that. I think I put some resources at the end. The highest level of privilege for a user, technically, is administrator. You have the administrator group, you have the standard user account, and then you have guest users on a Windows system. So those are the 3 user accounts that you can use. For service accounts, as I mentioned earlier, you have varying privileges. You have NT Authority System, which is kind of like the highest, technically. Network service, local service, and then trusted installer is, there are weird priv-esque vulnerabilities and tools you can use to get to trusted installer. That's technically the highest at the user level or in user land, but most of the time you won't see you using trusted installer. That's mostly a Windows thing. So permissioning. So basically those SIDs that I was talking about, basically everything is an access token in Windows, and I won't go too much into authentication and all that because I feel like that's more of an advanced talk. But basically, when you log into Windows, your password is just kind of thrown out, and then you have this thing called an access token. And basically, you use that access token to do anything on Windows. You request things using that access token. So the tokens contain that SID and a list of these privileges that you have. That's your associated token. So there's a couple funky ones that you might want to look out for that are a little dangerous. SE debug privilege. This one allows you to start debugging things and I guess inject things into processes and that sort of thing. Assigning primary token. You can replace tokens, which allows for impersonation. Take ownership of files. That one's a big one, especially for privilege escalation when you're pen testing. And then iCackles is a tool. I had a photo, but it's gone now, I guess. If you want to look for permissions on a file, like your specific user permissions or grouping permissions, check out iCackles. You can run that. You run iCackles and then the file name, and then you're good there.
Is it true that you have to flash your mic whenever you run iCackles?
Yeah. Yes, you must cackle. It's required. So permissions for services are a little different. They have these things called an SDDL. That was weird. The photos didn't load. So that's a security descriptor definition language, and that's this thing down here, which is a total mess if you want to change permissions on a Windows service. If you don't want to learn the Minecraft enchanting table, you can use MMC and then just have a GUI. I found that out during CCDC, and then I was permissioning services in CCDC without having to do this, because you have to type that out, and it's disgusting. It was not fun. If you want to reference, if you want to be cool and look into that, like there's a guide right there of how to understand this. Basically, rundown is these are groups of users, interactive users. I don't remember what that one stands for. Something admin, I don't know. But basically, all these things are in 2-letter increments, stand for some permission. And then if it has an A, it's an allow, or a D, it's a deny. Super grimy. Don't recommend. Don't recommend. So, oh, there it is. It's up there. If it loads. iCackles, right there. So you have your authority has full permissions, administrators have full permissions, and my account has full permissions. Not really a good screenshot, but does the job. What? Don't look in that text file. Okay, so basically for files on Linux, on Windows, they follow this thing called, oh, I do have ACLs on here. Basically, it's called an access control list, or ACL. And the way rules are formatted is it's based on an implicit deny. So if no rule is matching on an ACL, access will be denied when you try to access that file, read the file, execute the file, something like that. If an allow and deny rule exists, the deny is prioritized. So you can't do the thing where, you know, I don't know if it's like Linux firewalls or whatever, but you have the block all rule and then you have permitting certain users. You can't do that on Windows, which makes me sad sometimes. Like I said, the lists are called access control lists. Each ACL is made up of ACEs, so those are the individual entries, and then each ACE specifies the SID and the permissions that they have. So a lot of acronyms. Here are some basic permissions. There are an unbelievable amount. I wish I took a screenshot of it. But if you go into the advanced permissioning for Windows, you'll see tons of random things. The basic ones are, read, write, accessing a folder, executing, modifying a file, and then having full control, which means you have all the permissions. So watch out for that one, especially in competitions. Windows security. So we all love Windows security, right? They have this thing called UAC, User Access Control, and basically this is sandboxing on Windows. So it sort of separates privileges from talking to each other. So they have this thing called integrity, and that's basically the level of security that. This is the weirdest Windows install ever.
Hey, follow us on Twitch, guys.
Yeah, nice. So those integrity levels from highest to lowest, protected is the highest, system, high, medium, low, untrusted. A lot of people focus on UAC bypasses, so you can find a lot of those on GitHub. Interesting stuff, definitely. Defender, everybody loves Windows Defender, right guys? It's basically Microsoft's built-in antivirus. They have a couple main things. Real-time protection is the thing that deletes your malware off the system and won't, if you turn it off, it'll just turn itself back on. Prepare yourself for 202, guys. Sample submission, so basically what it does is if it finds something, it will take that executable and upload it to Microsoft servers so that they can further analyze it. And then if they see that sample again on someone else's system, they know, oh, that's malware. So that's a pretty cool thing. And then they also have file/folder access protection. So this is like your ransomware protection. If some folder is just trying to read every single file in the whole Windows system, it kind of just stops it. It's like, okay, this is kind of weird. So that's your ransomware protection. Defender has gotten a lot better in the last couple of years. It was really bad couple of years ago. So it's pretty good now, which is good. Firewall is classic. It's called the Windows Defender Firewall. Basically, you can do what a firewall does, set ingress and egress rules for network traffic. And if you want to do it on the command line, NetSH, if someone wants to look into that, you can do really funky stuff with NetSH. I've done strange things in there. Event viewer. So this is awesome. Highly recommend. I don't have a photo of it either, sad. But this basically is logging all of your Windows events as you do, day-to-day tasks or anything. It logs those events, errors, messages in specified folders. So there's a security folder for logins. You'll know special, 4624 I think is the login. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that. But if someone logs into your system, you can filter by event IDs and be like, okay, I know that this person logged in at this time from this IP address. And you're like, oh, I can block that IP address. Hint, hint. System is like other Windows-related things. And there are a whole bunch of folders. I should have taken a photo of that. But you can look into it. If you're running Windows, search Event Viewer, and you can check that out. So, halfway point. What questions do you guys have? Anything? Nothing? Got nothing? Fair enough. All right, so let's get into the command line. The command line's kind of grimy. What's up?
Great command line.
It's bad. It's bad. Batch is bad. So it's called DOS batch language. I don't know. I can't even defend it because it's kind of bad. Basically, they decided, let's take all the good commands and then like switch them. So like dir, oh god, I type ls every single time. And type is like reading a file. Where is your which command? Find string is your grep. Moving is moving. CLS is clear. Like you can't type clear. That's so annoying. Robocopy is copy. Classic. And then for finding your users, you use the net command, systeminfo. Netstat, I think, is the same on Linux. Is it? Sort of, maybe. And then netsh for firewall stuff. Basically, with a lot of batch commands, you can do command and then /?, and then it'll tell you what to sort of write next. So that sort of helps you. But I would recommend going to PowerShell sometimes, which is next. And then if you want to look for more PowerShell and CMD stuff, check that out. It's good stuff. You can do a lot of cool things with batch. So PowerShell, this was basically Microsoft's answer to Bash on Linux. It's built on the .NET framework. It's very, very verbose, so your commands will be really long, but it's super powerful. And it's based around these things called objects and not text. So the basics of PowerShell is it's verb noun, so set something, get command, whatever, and then you do tech option and then give it an argument like that. So if you want to find commands, you can do get command and then something, like some argument, and then it'll show you that stuff. Or if you want to get modules, get command module, find a module. Can talk about modules as well. You can import these things called modules into PowerShell, and basically gives you a little bit more functionality. If you want to know more about a command, you do get help and then give it the command, or get module. I'll give you that stuff. And then there's this cool thing on PowerShell called tech what if. And basically, if you are trying to run a command and you want to run it, but you don't want to actually run it, like you don't want it to actually do what it's supposed to do, you can do tech what if, and it will sudo run the command and give you what output it would be, but it doesn't actually write to the file or whatever you're trying to do. So it's good for testing. Good for testing. I don't remember what it is on Bash, but it exists on Bash. PowerShell can be super scripted. It's just like interpretive language like Python. This thing right here is called PowerShell ISE, and basically writes scripts for you sometimes. It has all your commandlets over here, and then as you start typing, it'll fill in for you and give you options and prompts. And basically, you can just hit the green play button, and it'll run your script down there. Windows, obviously, since you can do a lot of malicious things with PowerShell, by default, it doesn't allow you to run PowerShell scripts. So you'll need to run this command right here, and then give it either remote signed or unrestricted or some policy that allows you to run scripts. There's a couple different ones. For other stuff related to programming, there's a couple other things. For each is like for loops. Where object is filtering output, kind of like your grep. If for setting variable names, it's $, then you give it a variable name, and then equals whatever command you want to run, or give it an integer, anything like that. And then if else is normal. So it's very, very easy to write. PowerShell is much better than writing batch scripts. Okay, getting into Active Directory. So this is Microsoft's biggest thing right here. It's also known as Active Directory Domain Services. You will hear the word domain a ton. Basically, it manages your entire enterprise network all in one thing. So it creates what is called a forest, which is basically contains multiple domains in it. It has a whole tree structure. I should have put a photo on this. But basically, it will store information about the domain, all of the computers, the users, the printers, everything in the domain it has information on, and it sort of allows for authentication and usage just like that. It allows you to verify users and define access rights. This is all done through the box called the domain controller, which is the root box where everything goes back to. Active Directory authentication is all done through Kerberos, which I'll give a talk on much later on, but it's different than Windows default authentication. Basically, It runs on a ticketing system, and everything sort of has to authenticate to that domain controller that I talked about. So you send your connections back to the main server, and then that says if you can log in or not. You can also push, actually, I think I have a slide on it, so I'm going to skip that. It integrates very, very well with the Windows Server ISOs, so you can install it very easily, configure things to your liking, add little add-ins and stuff. Say you want to incorporate, like I said earlier, a certificate authority or something for authentication on Windows. You can install that very easily, or you want to install the IIS web server, anything like that. There's a whole list of stuff you can do that's easily installable, sort of built into AD and Windows. As of late, Microsoft has sort of been pushing people to use their cloud product called Azure. Where's Philip? Is Philip in the room? There he is. Yeah, drone footage. We got drone footage. They got B-roll. It's like B. You'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. So basically, everyone's been pushing to go in the cloud now and not host your infra on-prem, but that's just a thing. Talk to Philip about Azure if you want. Oh, yeah, okay, I do have a photo of it. So this is the thing called Server Manager. So if you have an Active Directory, I guess, forest, this is like the main interaction thing right here. So you'll see I have Active Directory running there. These are all my services that are running. You know, it's got file services running. And basically, you can do your manage thing where you can control what users will show up on every machine in the domain, what has access, when they can log in, stuff like that. And then in the tools section, you can add new features, like I was talking about, the roles and features thing. If you want to add, you know, if you added an IIS web server and you wanted it to integrate with Active Directory, it would show up right here. And you can click on it and then modify it, all that stuff. It's very helpful. This stuff is great. So this is what I skipped. So group policy, basically you are allowed, through Active Directory, you can configure every workstation, every box, everything inside of inside of a domain in Active Directory. There are about 5,000 group policy settings. So these are all the settings that you choose. Some noteworthy ones: you can restrict times, local accounts. You can stop programs from running, disable control panel, disable the task manager. Basically do anything that you can think of through group policy. And this doesn't even count all the user configuration and stuff that's included as well. Sysinternals. So this is basically a giant tool kit that was not written by, it was written partially by the guy who's the CTO of Azure at Microsoft, but I don't think he was when he wrote this. Basically, these are just tools that sort of expand on current functionality on Windows. So highly recommend if you if you don't know what these are, download these. They offer a lot of functionality. So Process Explorer is basically this right here. So the other Process Explorer or Task Manager is kind of, you know, if it doesn't really give a lot of information, you kind of have to dig down deep into this. This is Process Explorer. So basically, if I had, you know, Chrome running and I injected into Chrome and I was running something else, you can just sort of drop it all down and then see malware.exe inside of that or something. You can do a lot of, you know, handling. You can see basically everything you want to see in Process Explorer. Procmon is great for debugging and reversing. Process Monitor, it's short for. Someone say something? Oh, I missed it. Highly recommend Process Monitor. Access Check is basically like a GUI, better version of iCackles. So if you want to check that out. PSExec is a big one. So it allows you to basically install a service on someone else's machine with valid creds, and then you can execute commands remotely. So highly recommend. You can do that in the labs if you want to do that to your friends and shut off their machines or something. That's actually, don't do that. That's mean. Sysmon, so this is System Monitor. If any of you guys know who Swift on Security is, I'm pretty sure they have the like end-all be-all log file for that. Basically, it'll monitor everything on Windows for you and filter it based on how you want. Kind of better version of Event Viewer, I guess. And then TCP view is basically the GUI version of netstat, which will show all your active connections, what executables are reaching out, that sort of thing. For my IRSec people out there, you should look into these, trust me. And I could not end it without some red team stuff, but Mimikatz is a huge, huge, huge Windows tool, red teaming tool on Windows. So basically, it is a very common post-exploitation tool. It will dump passwords on Windows from the memory, hashes, pins, Kerberos tickets, everything that you can basically think of, it does for credential access. It has a lot of other functionality as well, but that's just like the main stuff. The story with Mimikatz, and I sort of know the story of it, but it's kind of iffy. Benjamin Delpy was the guy that wrote this, took it to a conference in Russia, and he presented on it, and he never intended of releasing the source code or releasing this tool because he's like, oh crap, this is too powerful. People are going to get ruined by this. And then he got basically jumped by a bunch of Russian spies, and then they stole his flash drive with the source code on it and all this, his presentation. And then he's like, oh, well, I guess I'll just release it to the entire world. So that's this right here. This is Mimikatz. So as you can see here, this dumps some hashes. This is your NTLM hash, which Windows uses. I'll give a presentation on that sometime. And then have some passwords in here as well. You're like, oh, look at that. On this side, this is built into Impacket, which is like a pen testing tool. It's called secretsdump.py, and basically it dumped all of the hashes on the account as well. And you can use these for pass the hash accounts, pass the ticket accounts, anything that you can sort of think of. Golden ticket attacks. I think I go into all of that much later on next semester. So that's all I have for intro to Windows. Please, anybody have any questions? I know that was a lot. Shoot. So there's a couple different ones that Active Directory uses by default. The big ones are Kerberos, which is port 88. Active Directory uses SMB, LDAP, which is like lightweight directory access protocol or something like that. There's a couple other ones that it uses. Basically, you have to have a bunch of open ports and services on your domain controller at all times in order to run Active Directory. But that's all listed. I can get you some resources on that if you want. Good question. Good question. Any other questions? Shoot.
Alias, so like you can have dir to ls?
Yes, you can. Oh yeah, yes. Okay, so the first question, by the way, was what sort of services and ports have to be open on an Active Directory server? And the second question was, can you alias CMD commands? And the answer is yes. So you can alias dir or ls to dir on CMD. The problem is, like, if I do a fresh install of Windows, I don't have that, and I got to set it all up again. So it's kind of a pain. You just kind of get used to it, but you can do that. It's a good call. Do that. You should do that. Or just use PowerShell.
Why is the VM trying to update?
It's Windows. It's classic. I don't know. That's a, yeah. That's, what's up? You have a question?
Oh, no. I was saying, what is a golden ticket?
Okay. Okay, basically, so Kerberos, this all goes into Kerberos authentication. But, oh yeah, and the question was, what is a golden ticket? Basically, it's an attack on Windows Active Directory. So basically, actually, I have a screenshot of it somewhere. Yes, here. So basically, you have all your hashes on an account, and there's an account called right here called the KRBTGT account on an Active Directory domain controller, and this is like the master account right here in a domain. And basically, how Kerberos works is it all uses tickets for authentication. So when you log in, you're given a ticket and use that ticket to authenticate. So basically, what you do is you find a way to dump the hashes of the KRBTGT account, and then basically you use that hash to generate a golden ticket. So a ticket that will allow you to authenticate to anything as if you were the KRBTGT account. So you are basically acting as that account on the system, which normally that's not actually possible to do that. But basically you're doing that. So it's a good question. It's a good question. Cheers. Any other questions? All right, thank you guys very much.